Welcome to BharatLens, India's sharpest eye on world affairs. Uninformed, inappropriate, and in poor taste. Those are India's official words, chosen carefully, delivered formally, on the record, about the President of the United States. Not Pakistan. Not China. Not some hostile nation that India has been fighting for decades. America. India's biggest trade partner. Its most important strategic ally. The country whose president has called Modi, one of my greatest friends, in public, on camera, at rallies of 50,000 people. Just had to watch its embassy in New Delhi scramble into damage control mode after what can only be described as one of the most diplomatically clumsy moments in the history of US-India relations. Today we go through exactly what happened, what India said, what the US said, who is coming to Delhi to try to fix it, and whether any of it is actually working. Because this story is bigger than one offensive repost. This is a window into the real, complicated, sometimes painful reality of being in a friendship with Donald Trump. Let's start from the beginning, because the full scope of this needs to be understood. US President Donald Trump drew criticism after sharing a transcript from a right-wing podcast that described China and India as Hellhole countries and questioned whether immigrants from those nations had integrated into American society. The excerpt was posted on Trump's Truth Social account and came from an episode of The Savage Nation, hosted by conservative radio figure Michael Savage. Trump also shared the original video clip but did not add any comment of his own. Now, who is Michael Savage? He is one of the longest-running far-right radio hosts in America. His show has been on air for decades. He is known for extreme immigration rhetoric, provocative statements, and a loyal audience that overlaps heavily with Trump's political base. Trump has amplified his content before, but never quite like this. The comments come ahead of a planned visit next month to India by US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who would seek to turn the page on recent tensions between the two nations. Trump late Wednesday posted a screed apparently written by someone else denouncing the US constitutional right to citizenship of every person born in the country. And the content of that screed? It was not just the word, hellhole, it went much further. The post accused Indian immigrants in the tech industry of not hiring white native-born Americans and inaccurately alleged that Indian immigrants lack English proficiency. The accompanying content described Indian and Chinese immigrants as gangsters with laptops, who have stepped on our flag. Gangsters with laptops. Stepped on our flag. Hellhole on the planet. This is the content that the President of the United States, on his official personal platform, chose to amplify. Without a word of his own. Without a disclaimer. Without any distancing. A full repost. A full endorsement. Government data shows nearly 5.5 million people of Indian origin live in the United States, with Indian Americans forming one of the two largest Asian origin groups in the country. These are doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, scientists, professors, and businesspeople who contribute hundreds of billions of dollars to the American economy annually. They were just called gangsters with laptops by the account of the President of the United States. Now let us be completely honest about what happened next, because this is the part that India's government would rather you forget. India's initial reaction was deliberately restrained. When first asked about the controversy, Maya spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal responded with, "We've seen some reports. That's where I'll leave it. That's where I'll leave it." Hours passed. The story went viral globally. Iran had already posted its sharp defense of India and China. Indian-American organizations were issuing statements. The Congress Party was attacking the BJP. And the Indian government's official position was, "We've seen some reports." Why the silence? For Modi, the controversy presents a balancing act. India values its strategic partnership with Washington and has invested heavily in bipartisan ties across Republican and Democratic administrations. At the same time, Modi's domestic image is built in part on strength, sovereignty, and national pride. Failure to respond forcefully to insults from a foreign leader can carry political costs at home. This is the trap India's government walked into. It needed the trade deal. It needed Rubio's visit to go smoothly. It needed Trump's goodwill on China, on Pakistan, on Hormuz. And so it absorbed an insult in silence, hoping it would pass. It didn't pass. It got louder. India's main opposition Congress Party condemned the remark as extremely insulting and anti-India. The party stated that Prime Minister Narendra Modi should take up this matter with the US President and register a strong objection. The opposition did not miss the irony. Here was Modi, who built his political brand on muscular nationalism, on never bowing to foreign pressure, on being the strong leader who stands up for India, staying absolutely silent while the American president called his country a hellhole. That contrast was politically devastating, and everyone in Delhi felt it. The pressure became too great. And by Thursday, India found its voice. MAIA spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal stated clearly, "The remarks are obviously uninformed, inappropriate and in poor taste. They certainly do not reflect the reality of the India-US relationship, which has long been based on mutual respect and shared interests." 3 words. Uninformed. Inappropriate. Poor taste. In diplomatic language, these are not gentle words. These are a formal rebuke. The MAIA does not use language like this lightly. When India's foreign ministry calls something inappropriate and in poor taste about an American president, that is as strong as India's official language gets without triggering a genuine diplomatic crisis. And the diaspora was even sharper. The Hindu American Foundation, an advocacy group, said it was disturbed by the hateful, racist screed. They posted, "Endorsing such rants as the President of the United States will further stoke hatred and endanger our communities, at a time when xenophobia and racism are already at an all-time high." Representative Ami Bera, an Indian-American Democrat from California, also criticized the post, saying, "Offensive, ignorant, and beneath the dignity of the office he holds." The pushback was coming from every direction: the Indian government, the Indian-American community, civil rights advocates, and opposition politicians in both countries. Now let us talk about the US Embassy's response, because it is perhaps the most telling detail in this entire story. The US Embassy in New Delhi said, "The President has said, India is a great country with a very good friend of mine at the top." That was it. One line. A quote from Trump about Modi, not about the hellhole comment, not a retraction, not an apology. Just a reminder that Trump once said India is great. This response actually made things worse. Because what it communicated to every Indian watching was this: the US government is not willing to say Trump was wrong. It is not willing to distance itself from the content. It is simply going to point at a previous nice quote and hope that's enough. It is not enough. And India knew it. The US Embassy scrambled to contain the fallout, but scrambling and succeeding are very different things. The damage was already done. The screenshots were already viral. The words, hellhole, and gangsters with laptops, were already attached to Trump and India in the same news cycle. And so we arrive at what happens next. And what happens next is Marco Rubio. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to visit India in May as New Delhi and Washington seek to reset ties strained by U.S. tariff policies. Secretary Rubio looks forward to visiting India next month, U.S. Ambassador to India Sergio Gore said in a post on X. The post followed Rubio's meeting with India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri in Washington, where the two held talks focused on bilateral relations. The timing of this visit, confirmed in the middle of the Hellhole fallout, is not a coincidence. The Marco Rubio India visit is not just a photo op, it is a strategic necessity. The talks between Misri and Rubio focused on trade, defense, critical minerals, and the Quad framework, a broad strategic review confirming that diplomatic engagement is happening at multiple levels ahead of the May visit. What is on the table? Defense co-production under the Make in India framework. Critical minerals for semiconductors and electric vehicles. Quad coordination on the Indo-Pacific. And the ongoing negotiations toward a full bilateral trade agreement, after the interim deal reduced tariffs from 50% to 18%. The US will lower the reciprocal tariff on India to 18% given India's willingness to align with the United States to confront systemic imbalances in the bilateral trade relationship and shared national security challenges. India intends to purchase $500 billion of US energy products, aircraft and aircraft parts, precious metals, technology products, and coking coal over the next 5 years. But here is the honest assessment. The Modi government may conclude a trade agreement, but its relationship with the Trump administration has been scarred by a year of hostility and tariffs. The hostility of Trump's statements referring to India as a dead economy and a hellhole will not be forgotten. Neither will Trump's outreach to Islamabad in the aftermath of the brief India-Pakistan conflict, which has left a permanent scar on the bilateral relationship. Rubio's visit can patch the surface. It cannot erase what has already been said. Here is what we are left with after all of this. Trump called India a hellhole. His content called Indians gangsters. India's government stayed silent for hours, then issued a careful rebuke. The US Embassy offered one recycled compliment as its defense. Iran defended India more boldly than America apologized. And now Marco Rubio is flying to Delhi to fix the relationship with handshakes and agreements. Washington and New Delhi should be proud of their strategic partnership. But international politics isn't the domain of unicorns and leprechauns, and collateral damage can't simply be wished away. The India-US relationship is real, it is important, and it will survive this. But surviving is different from thriving. And the pattern: Trump insults India, Modi absorbs it quietly, the US offers a token gesture, and both sides pretend it didn't happen. That pattern cannot continue indefinitely without doing permanent damage to how Indians see America and how the world sees India. A country that is serious about being a global power must be treated like one. Not just in joint statements and trade frameworks, but in the daily conduct of the most powerful person on earth. India deserves that respect. And if America needs reminding of that, then India should say so. Loudly. Without waiting hours for the political calculation to clear. That is what a superpower does. And that is the standard India must demand, not just from the world, but from its most important friend. Comment below. Do you think Rubio's visit will actually fix the damage? Or is the India-US relationship now permanently changed by Trump's behavior?